Number 5. Don't use age as a weapon in arguments. Introduction. Age is one of the most visible markers of difference between people. It shapes how we see the world, how we understand challenges, and even how we communicate. With age often comes wisdom, but wisdom is not automatic. It's something that is earned, developed, and demonstrated through choices, humility, and self-awareness. One common mistake older individuals sometimes make, especially when in conflict with someone younger, is to use age as a weapon in arguments. This means relying on phrases like, "You'll understand when you're older," "I know better because I've lived longer," "You're too young to get it." At first glance, these statements may seem harmless, but they actually undermine healthy communication. Instead of building understanding, they close off dialogue, diminish the younger person's sense of value, and foster resentment rather than respect. In this article, we'll explore in depth why using age as a weapon in arguments is harmful. We'll look at psychological dynamics, real-life examples, and the broader consequences for relationships across generations. Finally, we'll discuss healthier alternatives that encourage mutual respect, growth, and connection. Number 1. It shuts down communication. The purpose of any argument, or more constructively, any disagreement, is to bring different viewpoints to the table. Arguments can clarify values, uncover hidden perspectives, and even strengthen a relationship when handled with respect. But when age is used as the final word, the conversation is effectively silenced. Imagine a younger woman trying to share her perspective on a workplace challenge only to be cut off with, "Trust me, I've seen it all before. You'll understand someday." Instead of dialogue, the message is, "Your words don't matter right now." Communication thrives on openness. When one side dismisses the other using age, the chance to truly understand each other is lost. This silencing effect makes the younger person feel unimportant, and the older person misses the opportunity to learn something new. Number 2, it disrespects her individual experience. Age and experience are not identical. While it's true that living longer often brings more exposure to life events, younger people still have valuable experiences shaped by their own unique circumstances. A younger woman may have already faced serious challenges, health struggles, family responsibilities, or career obstacles that required maturity and resilience. To dismiss her simply because of her youth is to overlook the depth of her lived reality. Respect means recognizing that every person carries lessons from their journey, regardless of the number of years they've lived. By honoring those experiences, relationships become more authentic and balanced. Number 3, it creates an unhealthy power dynamic. When age is used as a weapon, it establishes a hierarchy. One person's perspective automatically outweighs the others. This isn't healthy dialogue, it's dominance. In families, this might look like a father dismissing a daughter's view with, "I'm your elder, so you have no say." In professional settings, it could be a senior manager disregarding a younger colleague's idea with, "I've been in this business for 30 years, you don't know yet." While authority may exist in certain roles, respect should never be one-sided. When people feel overpowered instead of heard, resentment grows and genuine trust weakens. Number 4, it shows insecurity, not wisdom. There's an irony here. The moment someone leans on age to win an argument, they reveal insecurity rather than confidence. If your perspective is truly strong, it can stand on its own through reasoning, evidence, and respectful communication. By saying, "I'm older, so I know better," you're essentially admitting you don't trust your argument to hold weight without pulling rank. Wisdom shines through humility, patience, and clarity, not through force by default. People respect those who argue with calmness and understanding, not those who claim superiority by default. Number 5, it prevents mutual learning. One of the most overlooked aspects of generational differences is how much each side can learn from the other. Older individuals often provide historical context, resilience strategies, and lessons about perseverance. Younger individuals bring fresh energy, creativity, adaptability, and awareness of modern challenges. But when age is used as the ultimate authority in disagreements, this exchange of knowledge is lost. Instead of walking away with deeper insights, both sides walk away with frustration. True wisdom is not about hoarding knowledge. It's about being open to continual growth, no matter your age. Number 6, it breeds resentment. Imagine being repeatedly reminded that your voice matters less simply because you're younger. Over time, this creates frustration that builds into resentment. Resentment doesn't just harm the younger person, it weakens the entire relationship. In families, it may cause distance between generations. In workplaces, it leads to disengagement where younger team members stop contributing ideas. Instead of fostering respect, using age as a weapon damages long-term trust. Number 7, it reinforces harmful stereotypes. When older people say things like, "Young people are careless," or "You'll never understand until you've lived as long as I have," they reinforce stereotypes that dismiss younger generations as shallow, lazy, or naive. But stereotypes cut both ways. Many younger people stereotype older generations as rigid, outdated, or unwilling to adapt. When arguments lean on these stereotypes, the gap between generations widens, making mutual respect even harder. Number 8, it weakens your own argument. Strong arguments are built on clarity, logic, and compassion. When age becomes your main defense, it signals a lack of stronger reasoning. For example, if a younger woman suggests a new approach to a project at work, dismissing her with, "I've done this longer than you, so trust me," doesn't explain why the old method is better. It simply shuts the door on innovation. Over time, people stop respecting age-based arguments because they lack substance. They crave reasoning, not authority. Number 9, it discourages honest feedback. If every disagreement ends with "because I'm older," younger people eventually stop speaking honestly. They may agree outwardly, but internally they disengage. This silence is not agreement, it's withdrawal. In families, it can cause emotional distance. In workplaces, it prevents progress and creativity. In friendships or mentorships, it erodes trust. Feedback, even when it's critical, is essential for growth. Shutting it down with age-based authority keeps both sides stuck. At the heart of any relationship, professional, familial, or social, is emotional connection. We connect when we feel heard, validated, and respected. Using age as a weapon communicates the opposite. Your feelings and ideas are less important than mine. That message creates distance instead of closeness. True connection requires space for both voices, no matter the years that separate them. Psychological insights. From a psychological perspective, using age as a weapon often comes from ego protection. When older people feel challenged by younger voices, they may defend their identity by pulling rank. This can be linked to authority bias, believing that authority, in this case age, automatically makes one right. Cognitive dissonance, struggling to accept that someone younger might have a valid point. Generational identity, feeling threatened when younger perspectives challenge long-held values. However, these reactions are short-term defenses. In the long term, they weaken respect and create emotional distance. Healthier alternatives. So, how can disagreements be handled without using age as a weapon? Listen, first, give space for the younger person to express their full thought before responding. Ask questions instead of dismissing. Try to understand their reasoning. Provide context, not authority. Share your experience without using it as a trump card. Acknowledge valid points. Even if you disagree, show appreciation for their perspective. Stay humble. Wisdom is best shown through humility, not dominance. For example, instead of saying, "I know better because I'm older," try, "I see where you're coming from. In my experience, I've noticed something different, but I'd like to understand how you think this one could work better. Can you show me?" This approach encourages dialogue rather than shutting it down. Real-life scenario. Consider a workplace example. A younger woman suggests adopting a new software tool to improve efficiency. An older manager responds, "I've been doing this for 20 years, so I know it won't work." The result? She feels unheard. Innovation stalls and frustration builds. Now, imagine if the manager said instead, "I've seen similar tools come and go in my time, but I'd like to understand how you think this one could work better. Can you show me?" The difference is striking. Instead of dominance, it shows curiosity and respect, keeping communication open. Number 6, don't invade her boundaries in every relationship, whether it is friendship, family, professional, or something more personal. Boundaries are one of the most important foundations. They are not about keeping people away. Instead, they help define where comfort begins and where discomfort might start. Boundaries give people the ability to feel safe, respected, and valued in their relationships. When it comes to women, respecting boundaries is particularly important because many women throughout their lives have experienced situations where their personal space or emotional comfort was disregarded. When you take the time to recognize and honor her boundaries, you communicate a deep sense of care and respect. On the other hand, when you ignore or invade them, you may unintentionally damage the connection you are trying to build. This article explores in detail why you should never invade her boundaries and how respecting them creates healthier, stronger, and longer-lasting relationships. Number 1, boundaries protect her sense of safety. One of the most basic human needs is the need for safety. Boundaries are a way of creating that sense of safety. For a woman, these boundaries may be physical, like personal space, emotional, such as how much she chooses to share about her life, or mental, what topics she is comfortable discussing. Imagine someone standing too close when she has already taken a step back, or pressuring her to open up when she has indicated she's not ready. These actions, even if they seem small, can make her feel uneasy. Respecting her limits shows that you are trustworthy and considerate. Safety is not only about protection from harm, it is also about feeling secure in being herself without judgment. When she knows her boundaries will not be crossed, she can relax, and the relationship can develop naturally. Number 2, respect builds trust. Trust is not created instantly. It is earned through consistent and respectful actions. One of the most effective ways to build trust is by respecting her boundaries. If she shares that she needs time to think and you give her that space without insisting on immediate answers, you show her that you respect her process. If she says no to something and you accept it gracefully, you demonstrate that her choices matter to you. On the other hand, when boundaries are ignored, trust is broken. Even small breaches can make her question whether you truly respect her. And once trust is damaged, it takes significant effort and time to repair. Respecting boundaries is therefore essential to any meaningful relationship. Number 3, boundaries maintain a healthy balance. Every relationship requires a healthy balance between closeness and independence. Invading her boundaries disrupts this balance. For example, if someone expects constant communication or demands her attention at all times, it can feel suffocating. Balance means understanding that she has other responsibilities, commitments, and interests outside of you. It means realizing that her time is valuable and should not always revolve around another person. By respecting this, you create space for the relationship to grow without pressure. Healthy balance allows her to give freely of her time and energy rather than feeling obligated or drained. This balance strengthens the bond instead of weakening it. Number 4, boundaries show you value her individuality. Respecting her boundaries communicates a powerful message. You see her as her own person. Everyone has different comfort levels, routines, and limits. When you respect these, you are essentially saying, "I respect you for who you are, not for who I want you to be." For example, if she enjoys quiet time to recharge, respecting that instead of insisting she always be available shows that you value her needs. Or if she has certain beliefs or traditions, acknowledging them instead of dismissing them affirms her individuality. Relationships thrive when both people are allowed to be themselves. Invading her boundaries sends the opposite message that her individuality is not valued. Respecting them, however, creates space for authenticity and acceptance. Number 5, invading boundaries causes emotional exhaustion. When boundaries are constantly crossed, even in small ways, it leads to emotional exhaustion. She may feel like she has to always defend herself, explain her choices, or put up walls to protect her peace of mind. For example, imagine someone who insists on knowing every detail of her day when she clearly prefers to share only what she's comfortable with, or someone who dismisses her no and continues to push over time. This wears her down and creates unnecessary stress. Respecting boundaries, on the other hand, helps her conserve emotional energy. It creates an environment where she feels safe to share when she wants to, rather than feeling pressured. Number 6, boundaries encourage honest communication. One of the greatest benefits of respecting boundaries is that it fosters honest communication. When she feels her boundaries will be respected, she is more likely to express her thoughts and feelings openly. For instance, if she says she needs time alone and you honor that without taking offense, you show her that she can be truthful without worrying about backlash. But if every time she expresses a limit, she faces arguments or guilt, she may stop communicating honestly. Respecting her boundaries creates a safe space where honesty is welcomed, and honesty is the foundation of meaningful connection. Number 7, respecting boundaries prevents resentment. When boundaries are invaded repeatedly, frustration begins to build. Even small intrusions can add up over time. This often leads to resentment, an invisible weight that slowly damages the relationship. Resentment might appear in subtle ways. She may become distant, less willing to share, or less enthusiastic about spending time together. These are signs that her boundaries have not been respected. By listening and honoring her comfort zones, you prevent resentment from growing. Instead, you build an atmosphere of mutual respect where positive feelings can flourish. Number 8, respect demonstrates emotional maturity. Being able to respect someone else's boundaries is a sign of emotional maturity. It shows that you understand relationships are not about control or constant access. They are about balance, freedom, and mutual care. An emotionally mature person knows that saying no is not rejection. It is simply an expression of personal need. They also understand that respecting boundaries doesn't weaken the relationship, it strengthens it. By practicing this maturity, you demonstrate self-control, empathy, and the ability to prioritize long-term connection over short-term desire. Number 9, boundaries create space for relationships to last. Short-term excitement often leads people to overlook boundaries in the beginning, but relationships that last over time are built on respect for limits. When you consistently honor her boundaries, you create a strong foundation for the future. This doesn't mean you'll never face disagreements. It means you'll handle them with respect and understanding. The more consistently you respect her space, the stronger and more enduring the relationship becomes. Boundaries allow the relationship to grow at its own natural pace, rather than being forced or rushed. Number 10, respecting boundaries honors her humanity. At the core, respecting her boundaries is about honoring her humanity. Every person has the right to feel safe, to make their own choices, and to decide how much of themselves to share. When you respect those rights, you affirm her dignity as a person. You are saying, "I value you as you are, and I honor your choices." This is one of the deepest and most meaningful ways to show care. Number 7, don't expect her to play by old rules. When generations meet, values and perspectives naturally collide. Older men often carry with them the lessons, traditions, and cultural expectations of their time. Younger women, on the other hand, grow up in a different world, one shaped by rapid change, evolving social norms, and shifting opportunities. The problem arises when an older man expects a younger woman to live, think, or behave strictly according to the old rules of his generation. This expectation not only creates distance, but can also unintentionally come across as dismissive of her individuality and the era she belongs to. Respectful relationships, whether professional, platonic, or familial, require adaptability, humility, and a willingness to understand the context of another person's life. Below are detailed reasons why you should never expect her to play by old rules along with the principles that help build healthier connections. Number 1, times have changed and so have opportunities. In many past generations, women often had fewer opportunities in education, careers, and leadership. Today, those opportunities have expanded. Expecting a younger woman to limit her ambitions or stay in her place based on outdated norms not only stifles her growth, but also disregards the progress society has made. Why it matters. Recognizing the reality of her world means respecting her ability to pursue paths that might not have been available in the past. Number 2, respect her autonomy. Older rules often assumed that younger people, especially women, needed guidance at every step. But today, autonomy and independence are central to personal identity. Expecting her to follow the patterns of dependency common in earlier times undermines her right to make choices. Why it matters. Respecting autonomy shows you value her as a capable decision-making individual rather than someone to be directed. Number 3, don't dismiss new perspectives as wrong. Every generation brings new ways of thinking, whether it's views on work-life balance, communication styles, or social values. Younger women see the world differently, not because they're careless, but because their environment has shaped them. Expecting her to adopt only your way of thinking dismisses her perspective. Why matters? Learning goes both ways. Wisdom doesn't just flow downward from old to young, it also flows upward when you're OPN. Number 4, avoid using tradition as a weapon. Tradition can be beautiful, but it should never be used as a tool of control. Telling her, "This is how it's always been done," is not a valid reason for her to follow. What worked in your time may not work in hers. Why it matters. True tradition adapts and survives because it evolves. Expecting rigid conformity can make her feel suffocated instead of supported. Number 5, she faces different challenges than you did. The world she navigates, economy, technology, social expectations, is not the same as the one you grew up in. Assuming that the rules from your youth apply to her life overlooks the complexity of her current reality. Why it matters. Acknowledging her challenges shows empathy and prevents unfair judgment. Number 6, old rules can silence her voice. In many past settings, younger women were encouraged to stay quiet, not challenge authority, or simply go along to avoid conflict. Expecting her to do the same now diminishes her right to be heard. Why it matters. Encouraging open dialogue not only respects her but also enriches your perspective. Number 7, growth requires flexibility. Rigid expectations create walls, not bridges. If you expect her to play by outdated rules, you close the door to genuine connection. Flexibility, on the other hand, allows space for both generations to share and learn. Why it matters. Flexibility is a sign of true maturity. It shows you've grown enough to adapt. Number 8, she deserves to define success for herself. Old rules often define success in narrow ways, whether through family roles, specific careers, or social status. Today, success looks different for everyone. Expecting her to chase your definition limits her potential. Why it matters. Supporting her personal definition of success shows you respect her individuality. Number 9, expecting obedience is not respect. The old mindset often equated respect with obedience, but today respect is about mutual recognition, not submission. Expecting her to follow rules simply because you set them doesn't build trust, it builds resistance. Why it matters. Genuine respect grows when both voices matter. Number 10, adaptability builds connection across generations. When you release the expectation that she must play by old rules, you open the door to authentic connection. Instead of clinging to outdated frameworks, you meet her where she is with curiosity, respect, and humility. Why it matters. The strongest bonds are built not on control, but on understanding. Number 8, don't undermine her ambitions. When it comes to building a meaningful and respectful relationship, whether personal, professional, or even just a friendship, supporting someone's ambitions plays a vital role. For women especially, ambition is often misunderstood or minimized, which can lead to frustration and emotional distance. If you want to build trust, respect, and a genuine connection, one of the most important principles is simple: don't undermine her ambitions. Here are several reasons why. 1. Ambition is part of her identity. A woman's ambitions, whether in her career, education, community involvement, or personal projects, are not just goals. They are a reflection of her identity, values, and vision for the future. Undermining them is in effect undermining who she is. When you recognize and respect her drive, you show her that you value her as a whole person, not just as someone who fits into your world. 2. Support builds confidence. Ambitions can feel heavy when someone pursues them without encouragement. By offering support instead of doubt, you give her the confidence to move forward with strength. Confidence is not built in isolation. It is often reinforced by the people closest to us. When she knows you believe in her abilities, she will feel more capable and empowered to chase after her goals. 3. Undermining breeds resentment. Minimizing her dreams through dismissive comments, subtle doubts, or constant criticism will eventually lead to resentment. Even small remarks like that seems unrealistic or why bother can accumulate and create emotional distance. Resentment doesn't always appear overnight, but once it takes root, it can damage trust and closeness. 4. Respecting her ambitions strengthens the relationship. Mutual respect is the foundation of any healthy connection. When you respect her ambitions, you show her that you value her vision just as much as your own. This creates a sense of partnership rather than competition. Supporting her doesn't mean you must agree with every decision, but it does mean standing beside her with encouragement instead of discouragement. 5. She is not defined by traditional roles. Many people still expect women to follow traditional paths, whether in family, career, or lifestyle choices. But every individual should have the freedom to define their own success. By undermining her ambitions, you send a message that she should stay within outdated boundaries. Respecting her drive, however, communicates that you see her as capable of shaping her own future. 6. Encouragement creates lasting bonds. When you encourage her, even in small ways, you build a stronger emotional connection. A simple "I believe in you" or "you've worked hard for this" can mean more than grand gestures. These moments of encouragement show her that you are invested in her growth and not threatened by her success. 7. Her growth benefits both of you. When a woman thrives in her ambitions, she brings more fulfillment, joy, and perspective into her relationships. A fulfilled person has more energy to share with others. By supporting her ambitions, you are not only helping her succeed, you are also enriching the connection you have with her. 8. Undermining shows insecurity. Often when someone tries to minimize another person's ambition, it comes from their own insecurity. If you feel threatened by her goals, it reflects more about your mindset than about her path. True. Strength is not about keeping someone small, it's about lifting them up. Respecting her ambition demonstrates maturity, confidence, and emotional intelligence. 9. You become part of her success story. When you support her without undermining, you become a meaningful part of her journey. She will always remember the encouragement, trust, and belief you showed when challenges were high. Instead of being someone who doubted her, you become the person who stood beside her when it mattered most. 10. A relationship without respect for ambitions won't last. At the end of the day, ambition is deeply tied to fulfillment. If she feels her ambitions are consistently minimized, she will eventually seek distance from the person doing the undermining. Long-term relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, cannot thrive where one person is not respected for who they are and what they want to achieve. Number 9, don't make jokes at her expense. Humor has always been one of the most powerful tools of human connection. A good laugh can dissolve tension, create a sense of belonging, and remind us that life is not all seriousness and weight. It is often said that laughter is universal, and it truly is. But while humor has the ability to bring people closer, it can also drive them apart when used carelessly. One of the most common and harmful misuses of humor occurs when someone makes another person the butt of a joke. Specifically, when an older man interacts with a younger woman, the temptation to tease or make light-hearted jokes at her expense can seem harmless in the moment. Yet, these jokes can leave lasting impressions that undermine confidence, trust, and respect. This article explores in depth why it is never wise for an older man to make jokes at a younger woman's expense. We will examine the psychology of humor, the impact it has on relationships, and the on sequences of careless words. We will also provide practical guidance on how to use humor in a way that uplifts rather than harms. The power of humor in human interaction. Humor is a double-edged sword. Used positively, it builds rapport, reduces stress, encourages openness, and makes difficult conversations easier. Used negatively, it humiliates, deepens insecurities, creates distance, and destroys trust. When humor is directed at someone, the difference between laughing with them and laughing at them determines whether the moment becomes a fond memory or a painful one. This distinction is especially important in interactions where age and life experience already create a power imbalance. Why older men sometimes fall into this mistake? Many older men use humor as a way to break the ice, show friendliness, or establish a lighter atmosphere. Some grew up in cultures where teasing was considered normal, especially toward younger people. In such cases, the intent may not be malicious. It may even be seen as playful, but good intentions are not always enough. Words spoken casually can have impacts far greater than expected. For a younger woman, being the target of humor often carries undertones of condescension or disrespect, even if that was not the intent. What an older man sees as a joke, she may perceive as a dismissal of her seriousness, a reminder of her age and inexperience, a lack of respect for her individuality. This gap between intent and impact is where many problems arise. Reason 1, humor shapes first impressions. The first impression someone forms of you often sticks for a very long time. If the first interaction a younger woman has with an older man involves being teased or made the butt of a joke, it sets a negative tone. Instead of thinking, he's warm and approachable, she may think, he doesn't take me seriously, or he's trying to embarrass me. Since first impressions tend to be sticky, a single poorly chosen joke can create unnecessary barriers that may take months or years to undo. Reason 2. It reinforces power imbalances. Age naturally brings with it a sense of authority. In professional settings, older men are often in positions of seniority. In family or community context, they may be seen as figures of wisdom. When jokes are directed downward towards someone younger or less experienced, it reinforces this power imbalance. The older man may not notice it, but the younger woman often feels it keenly. Instead of bridging the age gap, humor at her expense widens it, making her feel smaller in the interaction. Reason 3, jokes can undermine confidence. Younger women, particularly in professional or educational environments, may still be finding their voice. They are building confidence, learning to express their ideas, and establishing their identity in various circles. A dismissive joke about her inexperience, her mistakes, or even her personality can undermine this growth. Instead of encouraging her to contribute, it may make her withdraw. The subtle message of a joke can be, "You don't belong here or you're not capable." Over time, these little cuts add up, weakening confidence rather than nurturing it. Reason 4, jokes leave lasting echoes. Unlike casual conversations, jokes have staying power. People often remember an embarrassing joke years later, even if everyone else has forgotten it. If a younger woman feels humiliated or mocked by a joke, she may replay that moment in her mind long afterward. Instead of recalling the older man as wise or kind, she remembers him as someone who used her dignity as a punchline. This damages trust and makes future interactions less genuine. Reason 5. Respect is the foundation of connection. No relationship, whether professional, friendly, or mentoring, can thrive without respect. When jokes cross into mockery, it erodes this foundation. Respectful humor includes others. It never diminishes them. It creates shared laughter rather than singling out one person for ridicule. For an older man, respecting boundaries in humor shows maturity and consideration. When jokes come at someone's expense, they suggest a lack of empathy and regard. Without respect, there can be no authentic connection. Reason 6. Public jokes humiliate, not entertain. When jokes are made in front of others, the impact multiplies. Being the subject of humor in private can already sting, but in public it often feels humiliating. The younger woman may feel exposed or diminished in front of peers. Worse, the group may laugh along, not because they agree with the joke, but because group dynamics pressure them to. The result? The older man appears careless and she feels alienated. Instead of strengthening social bonds, humor in this form fractures them. Reason 7. Intent doesn't cancel impact. A common defense is, I didn't mean it that way, but intent doesn't erase how words land. A joke intended as harmless can still leave a lasting sting. True emotional intelligence lies in recognizing that the impact matters more than the intention. An older man who dismisses the impact by hiding behind intent only deepens the hurt. On the other hand, acknowledging impact, even when unintentional, shows wisdom and humility. Reason 8. Encouragement builds. Mockery destroys. Every interaction carries a choice to build up or to tear down. Words of encouragement are remembered warmly and can inspire growth. Words of mockery, however light-hearted, can discourage and damage trust. An older man has the opportunity to use his words to uplift. When he chooses encouragement instead of teasing, he strengthens confidence and earns respect. Mockery, on the other hand, may win a cheap laugh but loses something much more valuable: trust. Reason 9. Humor reflects character. The way someone uses humor reveals much about their character. People who use humor inclusively, who laugh at themselves, or who find humor in situations show humility and empathy. People who use humor to belittle others reveal insecurity, arrogance, or lack of awareness. For an older man, humor is not just about making people laugh. It's about showing what kind of person he truly is. Choosing humor that uplifts shows wisdom and integrity. Reason 10. Trust is the heart of connection. At the end of the day, all healthy relationships are built on trust. Trust is fragile. It takes time to build, but only seconds to break. When a younger woman feels she cannot let her guard down for fear of being mocked, trust evaporates. She will no longer feel comfortable opening up, seeking guidance, or sharing her ideas. But when humor is used thoughtfully in a way that includes her and honors her dignity, it strengthens trust and makes the connection genuine. Number 10. Don't forget to learn from her too. In any meaningful relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, a sibling, or even a colleague, it's easy to slip into the mindset that you're the one with the wisdom, the experience, and the knowledge to share. You might think of yourself as the teacher, the guide, or the more experienced figure. And while there may be truth in the fact that you bring valuable lessons to the relationship, there's something essential to remember. Learning goes both ways. She too carries her own wisdom shaped by her background, experiences, personality, and perspective on life. Forgetting to learn from her is not just a missed opportunity. It risks creating imbalance and even unintentionally overlooking her value. But when you remain open to what she has to teach you, you discover insights that can deepen your understanding of the world, strengthen your connection, and help you evolve into a more complete person. Let's explore in detail why it's so important not to forget to learn from her too. 1. She brings a different perspective. Every individual views the world through their own lens. Her upbringing, challenges, and triumphs are different from yours. This means she might interpret situations in ways you hadn't considered. For example, while you might approach a problem with logical reasoning, she may bring a more intuitive or emotionally sensitive outlook. Learning from her perspective doesn't mean abandoning your own. Instead, it broadens your vision. When you're able to combine different perspectives, your structured way of thinking with her fresh viewpoint, you create a more balanced understanding of situations. This makes you more adaptable, empathetic, and wise in how you interact with others. Think of it this way. Imagine trying to understand a painting while standing too close. You might only see a few strokes of color, but when she offers her perspective, it's like stepping back, you see the full picture. 2. She offers emotional insights you may not see. Emotions are often subtle, and not everyone is trained to notice them. She may have a natural gift for recognizing feelings, both her own and those of others. Maybe she notices when someone in your circle feels excluded even before they say a word. Or she may sense when tension is rising in a conversation that to you still feels neutral. By observing how she navigates emotions, you can learn to pick up on these cues as well. Emotional intelligence is a skill that improves communication, strengthens relationships, and builds trust. When you allow yourself to learn from her in this way, you grow in areas beyond intellect. You become better at understanding people at their core. This doesn't just help your relationship with her, it improves your interactions in every area of life, at work, in friendships, and within family. 3. Her experiences are lessons too. It's tempting to assume that the more years you've lived, the more wisdom you hold. But wisdom is not just a matter of age, it's also about the kind of experiences a person has gone through. Her journey may be completely different from yours. She may have faced challenges you never encountered, made decisions under pressures you never knew, or developed resilience in ways unique to her path. Each of these experiences holds lessons worth paying attention to. By learning from her story, you not only expand your knowledge, but also gain shortcuts to wisdom. Instead of having to stumble through every difficulty yourself, you benefit from the insights she has already earned. 4. She may see strengths in you that you overlook. Sometimes the hardest thing to recognize is our own value. You may think of yourself as ordinary in areas where she sees something remarkable. Perhaps she admires your consistency, your kindness to strangers, or your ability to remain calm in stressful situations, qualities you might dismiss as just who I am. By listening to her perspective, you become more aware of your strengths. This helps you grow in self-confidence and reminds you that you have qualities worth nurturing. Her reflections can serve as a mirror showing you sides of yourself you rarely take time to notice. 5. She can teach you patience and understanding. Patience is not something learned in isolation. It is often shaped in relationships. Differences in personality, preferences, or habits can sometimes cause friction. But these are also opportunities to grow. For instance, you may be quick to want resolutions while she might prefer to reflect before responding. By watching how she handles disagreements, or by being willing to slow down for her process, you learn patience. You discover that understanding isn't always about finding the fastest answer, but about respecting the pace and needs of others. Her presence can remind you that true strength often lies in gentleness, in listening and holding space for others to express themselves fully. 6. She inspires you to evolve. Learning doesn't always come through words, it often comes through example. She may inspire you by the way she pursues her passions, the discipline she shows in her responsibilities, or the kindness she extends to those around her. For example, maybe you've seen her commit to a long-term goal even when it required sacrifice and perseverance. That dedication can motivate you to apply the same persistence in your own pursuits. Inspiration is a form of teaching that doesn't require lectures. It flows naturally from how she lives her life. 7. Her curiosity can renew yours. Over time, it's easy to become set in routines, sticking only to the things you know. But she may bring new interests, hobbies, or perspectives into your life, whether it's a new type of music, a different cultural tradition, or a subject you never explored before. Her curiosity can spark yours. Allowing yourself to learn from her in these ways keeps your mind active and open. It challenges the comfort of sameness and reminds you that life always has something new to offer. 8. She helps you see your blind spots. Everyone has blind spots, areas where they fall short but don't notice. These might be habits, assumptions, or unhelpful patterns of behavior. Because she sees you from the outside, she may recognize these things before you do. Of course, it's not always easy to hear about our weaknesses, but if you're willing to listen and learn from her observations, you can grow in ways you couldn't have achieved alone. For example, she might point out that you interrupt people without realizing it, or that you dismiss your own accomplishments too quickly. These are insights that, when accepted, help you grow into a more balanced and thoughtful version of yourself. 9. Mutual learning strengthens respect. One of the most powerful aspects of being willing to learn from her is the respect it shows. When you acknowledge that she has wisdom and insights to offer, you affirm her value in the relationship. This creates a quality where both voices matter. Instead of one person leading and the other following, you walk side by side. The relationship becomes a partnership built on trust and mutual appreciation. Respect isn't just a feeling, it's a practice. And part of that practice is showing humility, the willingness to learn even from someone whose experiences are different from your own. In every stage of life, relationships and interactions require balance, respect, and understanding. When an older man finds himself spending time with a younger woman, whether in a professional setting, a mentoring role, a family connection, or even a friendship, the dynamics can sometimes feel complicated. Age differences bring different perspectives, values, and experiences. These differences can be enriching, but they also demand sensitivity. Unfortunately, some older men make the mistake of assuming authority, dismissing the younger person's individuality, or forgetting that mutual respect is the foundation of any healthy connection. What might feel harmless to the older man can come across as condescending, controlling, or dismissive to the younger woman. That's why it's important to recognize certain boundaries, things you should never do if you want to build trust, maintain dignity, and foster genuine connection. This isn't about walking on eggshells, but about interacting in a way that reflects maturity, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. In this video, we'll look at 10 important things an older man should never do when interacting with a younger woman, and more importantly, why avoiding these mistakes creates a healthier, more respectful dynamic for both. Number 1, don't talk down to her. Why respectful communication matters across generations. When an older man interacts with a younger woman, whether in the workplace, in family, or even in casual social situations, the way he communicates sets the tone for the entire relationship. One of the most common mistakes older men make is talking down to younger women. It might not always be intentional, but when it happens, it carries a message: I don't take you seriously. This kind of behavior creates distance, undermines trust, and limits meaningful connection. Respect in communication is not about age, status, or gender. It's about recognizing the dignity of the person in front of you. Let's explore in detail why an older man should never talk down to a younger woman and the lessons behind it. 1. Respect is the foundation of any relationship. At the heart of every healthy human connection is respect. When an older man talks down to a younger woman using a condescending tone, interrupting her, or assuming she has nothing valuable to add, he weakens that foundation. Respect is not about agreeing with everything she says. It's about listening with the same seriousness you would expect for yourself. The moment communication shifts into patronizing territory, the relationship becomes unequal and inequality breeds resentment. 2. Experience doesn't cancel out intelligence. Yes, older men often carry more life experience, but experience should be shared, not used as a weapon to belittle. Younger women bring fresh perspectives, education, and often skills that older generations may not have. For example, a younger colleague may know more about modern technology, current trends, or innovative approaches. Dismissing her insight because of her age not only damages her confidence, but also robs the older man of an opportunity to learn something new. Wisdom means balancing experience with openness, not assuming age automatically equals superiority. 3. Talking down shuts down communication. When someone feels belittled, they naturally withdraw. If a younger woman feels her thoughts will only be mocked or dismissed, she may stop sharing them altogether. In a workplace, this means lost creativity and lost potential. In a family, it means strained communication and missed opportunities for closeness. A respectful exchange, on the other hand, invites openness. When she feels as her perspective is valued, she will contribute more fully, creating a healthier and more meaningful dialogue. 4. Generational gaps should be bridges, not walls. Every generation grows up with different influences, challenges, and ways of seeing the world. Talking down to someone because of her age widens the gap rather than narrowing it. Instead, an older man should use the difference as a bridge, sharing his perspective while also being curious about hers. The younger generation often brings energy and new ideas, while the older generation offers stability and wisdom. Together, they can complement one another. When communication is patronizing, however, the gap becomes a wall, shutting down collaboration and mutual growth. 5. It damages trust and respect in return. Trust is a two-way street. If a younger woman feels constantly belittled, she will naturally lose respect for the older man. What's more, she might start to see him not as a mentor or equal, but as someone closed off, rigid, or even insecure. Ironically, talking down to her doesn't build authority, it weakens it. True, authority comes from humility, fairness, and the ability to listen. A man who respects others, regardless of age, earns more respect in return. 6. Patronizing speech reveals insecurity, not strength. Often, talking down to someone is less about the other person and more about the speaker's own insecurity. If an older man feels threatened by fresh perspectives, he may use condescension to reassert control, but it backfires. A younger woman and everyone watching the interaction will quickly recognize the insecurity behind the words. Instead of appearing wise, he appears defensive. Confidence is shown not by belittling others, but by making space for them to shine. 7. It limits growth on both sides. Every meaningful interaction has the potential for growth, both for the older and for he younger. But when condescension enters the conversation, growth stops. A younger woman may miss out on guidance she could have received if the conversation had been balanced and respectful. Meanwhile, the older man misses out on learning something new from her perspective. In effect, talking down to her creates a lose-lose situation. Respectful dialogue, on the other hand, creates a win-win. 8. It damages workplace and social dynamics. In professional settings, communication style influences team morale. If an older man regularly talks down to younger women, others will notice. It creates an atmosphere where people feel hesitant to contribute, especially those who are younger or less experienced. Socially, it can make interactions awkward and uncomfortable. No one enjoys feeling inferior in a conversation. Over time, people may avoid the older man altogether, not because of his age, but because of the way he communicates. Respectful, inclusive communication builds stronger teams, families, and friendships. 9. Younger generations value equality deeply. Today's younger generations, both women and men, are more attuned to issues of respect, equality, and dignity. A younger woman is unlikely to remain silent if she feels belittled. She may speak up, withdraw, or disengage completely. An older man who recognizes this shift and adapts by communicating respectfully demonstrates wisdom and emotional intelligence. One who clings to outdated patterns of condescension risks alienating those around him. 10. Talking down prevents lasting influence. At the end of the day, most older men want to be remembered as mentors, leaders, or people of integrity. But influence requires respect. If a younger woman recalls an older man as someone who dismissed her, she will carry that memory into future interactions. Not with admiration, but with caution. On the other hand, if she remembers him as someone who valued her ideas, spoke with respect, and treated her as an equal, that influence will endure positively. The choice is his to leave behind a legacy of belly, tarling, or one of encouragement. Number 2, don't try to control her choices. Relationships are not built on control. They are built on trust, respect, and mutual freedom. When a man tries to control a woman's choices, he creates an environment of tension, resentment, and distance. On the other hand, when he respects her autonomy, he strengthens the bond in a way that feels natural, healthy, and long-lasting. In this article, we'll explore why you should never try to control her choices, along with detailed reasons that highlight how respect and freedom create stronger connections. 1. Control destroys trust. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. If a woman feels that her choices are constantly being monitored, questioned, or restricted, she begins to lose trust. Instead of seeing you as a supportive presence, she might start to see you as someone who doubts her ability to make her own decisions. Why this matters: trust is not about agreeing on every decision. It's about respecting each other enough to know that personal choices are not threats. Healthy alternative. Instead of trying to control, ask questions with genuine curiosity. Show interest in her reasoning, not as a way to correct her, but as a way to understand her perspective. 2. Respect is more attractive than control. People are naturally drawn to those who respect them. When you honor her freedom of choice, you send a powerful message. I value you as an independent person. Why this matters: respect gives her space to grow, evolve, and feel safe being herself. This creates deeper emotional closeness than control ever could. Healthy alternative. Even if you don't fully agree with her choices, acknowledge her right to make them. A simple phrase like "I trust your judgment" carries weight. 3. Control creates resistance, not harmony. The harder you try to control someone, the more they ally resist. It's a basic human reaction. When freedom feels threatened, people push back. Why this matters: instead of listening with openness, she may begin making decisions just to prove her independence, even if they aren't in her best interest. Healthy alternative. Replace control with collaboration. If the choice affects both of you, have an open discussion and share your perspective without making demands. 4. Her choices reflect her identity. Every decision she makes, small or big, is a reflection of her individuality. Trying to control her choices sends the message that who she is at her core isn't good enough. Why this matters: over time, this damages her self-esteem and weakens her sense of identity in the relationship. Healthy alternative. Celebrate her uniqueness. Even when you wouldn't personally make the same choice, remind her that her individuality is what makes her valuable. 5. True connection is built on freedom. Love should never feel like a cage. When both people are free to make choices, without fear of judgment or punishment, the relationship grows stronger. Why this matters: a bond that relies on control isn't a real bond, it's dependency. Real intimacy comes from freedom. Healthy alternative. Focus on being a supportive partner, not a controlling one. Ask yourself, am I encouraging her growth or am I limiting it? 6. Control often comes from insecurity. Most attempts to control another person's choices don't come from love. They come from fear. A man who tries to dictate her decisions often does so because of his own insecurity or lack of trust. Why this matters? This doesn't just harm her, it harms you too. It keeps you stuck in cycles of jealousy, suspicion, and worry. Healthy alternative. Work on building confidence in yourself. When you are secure in who you are, you won't feel the need to control anyone else. 7. Support encourages growth. When you respect her choices, even the ones you don't fully understand, you give her room to grow. And when she grows, the relationship grows too. Why this? This matters. A controlling environment stunts personal growth over time. This creates resentment because one person feels held back. Healthy alternative. Ask how you can support her. Sometimes, even if you wouldn't make the same choice, your willingness to stand by her strengthens trust. 8. Control weakens emotional safety. Emotional safety means feeling like you can express yourself without fear of being judged, shut down, or manipulated. If she feels controlled, she no longer feels safe. Why this matters? Without emotional safety, communication breaks down. She may hide things from you or avoid sharing her real thoughts. Healthy alternative. Build an environment where she knows her choices won't be used against her. This creates more honesty and openness. 9. Respect leads to mutual respect. When you respect her choices, she is far more likely to respect yours in return. Control, however, invites defensiveness and a cycle of conflict. Why this matters? Relationships are mirrors. What you give is often what you get back. If you give respect, you receive it. If you give control, you receive resistance. Healthy alternative. Lead by example. Show her that you trust her decision-making and she will naturally extend the same trust to you. 10. Lasting bonds are based on equality. At the heart of it, trying to control someone's choices creates imbalance. One person becomes the decision-maker while the other becomes the follower. True partnership cannot survive under that weight. Why this matters? Equality isn't about identical roles. It's about shared respect. Both voices matter, both choices matter, and both people matter. Healthy alternative. Approach decisions as a team. Even if you disagree, look for compromise instead of control. 11. Control damages her confidence. When someone constantly questions or corrects your choices, it's easy to lose confidence. Over time, she may start second-guessing herself, which damages not only her, but also the relationship. Why this matters? A strong, confident partner makes for a healthier and happier relationship. Weakening her confidence only harms both of you. Healthy alternative. Encourage her decision-making even when mistakes happen. Mistakes are how people learn and grow. 12. Control blocks authentic love. If love is only present when she follows your lead, then it isn't authentic love. It's conditional acceptance. Why this matters? She should feel loved for who she is, not only when she aligns with your expectations. Healthy alternative. Practice unconditional respect. Even if you don't agree with her choices, the love remains steady. 13. Control brings out the best in people. People thrive when they feel free. Creativity, joy, and passion all grow in environments where freedom is respected. Control, on the other hand, shrinks people. Why this matters? If she feels free around you, she will naturally bring her best self to the relationship. If shy you give respect, you receive it. If you give control, you receive resistance. Healthy alternative, led by example. Show her that you trust her decision-making and she will naturally extend the same trust to you. 10. Lasting bonds are based on equality. At the heart of it, trying to control someone's choices creates imbalance. One person becomes the decision-maker while the other becomes the follower. True partnership cannot survive under that weight. Why this matters? Equality isn't about identical roles. It's about shared respect. Both voices matter, both choices matter, and both people matter. Healthy alternative. Approach decisions as a team. Even if you disagree, look for compromise instead of control. 11. Control damages her confidence. When someone constantly questions or corrects your choices, it's easy to lose confidence. Over time, she may start second-guessing herself, which damages not only her but also the relationship. Why this matters? A strong, confident partner makes for a healthier and happier relationship. Weakening her confidence only harms both of you. Healthy alternative. Encourage her decision-making even when mistakes happen. Mistakes are how people learn and grow. 12. Control blocks authentic love. If love is only present when she follows your lead, then it isn't authentic love, it's conditional acceptance. Why this matters? She should feel loved for who she is, not only when she aligns with your expectations. Healthy alternative. Practice unconditional respect. Even if you don't agree with her choices, the love remains steady. 13. Control brings out the best in people. People thrive when they feel free. Creativity, joy, and passion all grow in environments where freedom is respected. Control, on the other hand, shrinks people. Why this matters? If she feels free around you, she will naturally bring her best self to the relationship. If she feels controlled, she will pull away.